Hi, everybody. Welcome to our webinar. Today's webinar is titled Temporary Pathway to Permanent Residency. Now, before we get started, you are viewing this on our YouTube channel. So please do go ahead, like and subscribe to our YouTube channel, and don't forget to go ahead and press that bell button. Okay, so we're going to dive straight into the webinar. And just beforehand, I will introduce myself. My name is Louise Willis. I am a regulated Canadian immigration consultant. I'm also licensed to practice in the province of Quebec, which is where I'm speaking to you from today, from the Old Port of Montreal. And I've been working in immigration for about 20 years or so. Okay, and I have sat on the board of directors for our professional association, as well as for an organization that does help refugees arrive in Montreal. Now, what we're going to be talking about today is what is the new pathway to permanent residency that was recently announced by Immigration Canada. We're going to talk about who can apply, the similarities in all of the streams, and then I'm going to go through the details of the streams, issues that we are maybe not aware of yet, and also details on how to actually apply. Okay. Now, first of all, what is this new pathway? So this is an incredible opportunity, okay? This is something that, by the way, was announced on April 14th, and I'm just gonna put this out there because I am recording this today on April 27th. And I'm saying that for a particular reason, and that is quite simply because we don't have all of the necessary information yet, even though this program opens up next week. Okay, so there may be information that was gonna be forthcoming in the next few days prior to this program opening up. So I just needed to mention that this is being recorded as of today, April 27th. Okay, so this is an incredible opportunity because Canada is opening the doors basically to give those that are currently in Canada working an opportunity to apply for permanent residency where they may not have had the option to apply before. Okay, so Canada does still need to meet its target of bringing in a number of permanent residents. And, you know, with obviously the pandemic and all the travel restrictions, et cetera, it has been a challenge. Okay, so, you know, this is really quite an incredible new pathway that has been announced. And I just want to go through it all with you. Now, the first thing is that it is really destined to essential workers and recent graduates, okay? The number one most important thing that you must remember is that the applicant must be currently working in Canada now, okay? So unfortunately for any of you that are outside of Canada right now, none of these pathways apply to you, okay? This is really for those that are currently in Canada. This is a first come, first serve type program. This is not like Express Entry, which we've been so programmed to use Express Entry, whereby there is an invitation to apply. That is not the case here, okay? This is a first come, first serve. There are caps, which I'm going to get to. This is what we call a one-stop shop. So that means you have to send in the full application at time of submission, okay? It is not a staggered application. There are limited numbers unless you speak French. So again, because Canada does want to make sure that, you know, we attract more francophones to Canada. We are a bilingual country after all. They have actually announced that the caps that apply in these pathways do not apply to French speakers. Very important, this program is only open from May the 6th until November the 5th, 2021, or until the caps are reached. Now, be prepared because these caps may be reached very quickly. Okay, so it's up to you to make sure you get as much information prepared so that you can go ahead and apply as soon as possible. So who can apply? First of all, there's workers in Canada, okay, what we call Stream A, and these are healthcare workers. These are capped at 20,000. Workers in Canada, Stream B, essential non-healthcare occupations, cap of 30,000. International graduates, cap of 40,000. So these are for people who have studied in Canada and are currently working. French-speaking and bilingual candidates, as per the three above streams, but who have French language skills, no cap, okay? This is very important. So There are numerous similarities throughout this new pathway, okay? So in all of the streams, and these are critical. So you must really make sure that you meet these requirements in order to be eligible. Number one, you must be employed in Canada at the time of application. You must have a valid permit, okay, or valid authorization to work. Self-employment does not count, okay? So unfortunately, any of you that are self-employed, you will not be able to apply, okay? Unless you are a medical doctor in a fee-for-service arrangement with a health authority. That is the only exception for those who are self-employed. You must also reside in Canada with valid temporary status and be physically present in Canada at the time the application is both received and approved. Okay, so this pathway, as you can see, it is for those that are in Canada. Okay, and so again, you must make sure that you meet these requirements in order to be eligible. You must intend to reside in a province or a territory outside of Quebec. Okay, so this unfortunately does not allow people to come and live in Quebec, and that is because Quebec has its own immigration program. Okay, now your family members, of course, are included in your application, and by family members we mean your spouse, okay, your common law spouse or married partner, and your dependent children, okay, and the numbers of your family members are not included in the caps. Okay, this is an online application, and you must pay the right of permanent residency fee upfront. Okay, so upon application, so $500. If you are familiar, other applications you do not have to pay this upfront, although it's recommended. But in this application, it must be paid upfront. Okay, at the same time you pay the application fee. I put a little question mark there because actually, you know, my assumption is that it will be $825 per adult, but in fact, it may be $550. So we need to wait and see on that because although the immediate assumption is, of course, it will be the usual fee, I did note that it was mentioned that it may actually be a lower processing fee. So we need to wait and hear and see what IRCC have to say about that. Obviously, as with all permanent residency applications, you must not be inadmissible to Canada. Okay, so you can't have obviously any criminality. Okay. So we're going to dive straight into Workers in Canada Stream A. Now, what this means is that you have to show that you, the applicant, has accumulated at least 1 year of full-time skilled work experience, and this is defined by 1,560 hours of work, okay, or part-time equivalent, in an eligible occupation in Annex A in the 3 years preceding the date the permanent residency application is received. And so these are all the healthcare occupations, and I'm going to go through those with you. Okay, so 1 year full-time skilled work in a designated occupation over the past 3 years. The experience can be acquired in one or more Annex A occupations, okay, but it cannot be combined with an Annex B occupation, okay, and I'm going to go through those. Again, does not include self-employed work unless the applicant is working as a medical doctor in a fee-for-service arrangement with a health authority. Now, the language requirements are really quite low, okay? So you have to only have attained a CLB 4 in each language ability. The language tests, as per other applications, it needs to be less than 2 years old when the PR application is received. So I've broken down here because for English, you can take either the CELPIP test or IELTS. Now, CELPIP is very easy. Benchmark of 4 is equivalent to a 4 in each ability. Okay, so listening, reading, writing, and speaking. IELTS, it's a little bit different. Listening, 4.5, reading, 3.5, speaking, 4.0, and writing, 4.0. So those are the basic minimum requirements you have to get. And then I've also listed the French requirements there too. Okay, so the TEF or the TCF. Now, I hope that you've done your language tests already, because one of the problems right now, especially those in Canada, is getting onto a language test, okay? Getting booked onto a language test. They're all booked up, and, you know, we still have some provincial travel restrictions, so it's not so easy anymore to just, you know, drive on down to another city or another province. So I really hope that you do have them booked, and if you don't, get booked on them as soon as you possibly can. Okay, now this stream is being capped at 20,000 applications. So once they reach 20,000, they will not process anymore. So I'm not going to read through every single one of these occupations because we have a few pages, but just so that you can see what the eligible health occupations are. Okay, so you'll see things such as specialist physicians, registered nurses, chiropractors, physiotherapists, radiation technologists, opticians, okay, licensed practical nurses, and very importantly, you'll see home support workers, housekeepers, and related occupations. Okay, this is what we call a occupation that falls under as a semi-skilled or low-skilled occupation. And for this occupation to be able to apply directly for permanent residency is really fantastic. Okay, this is really new, and it is fantastic that this opportunity is there. Do note that in these health occupations, it does not include veterinarians, okay, or animal health technologists, okay? So all the health occupations are primarily, you know, the essential occupations that we're grateful for all the foreign workers being able to help us and guide us through the pandemic. One thing that is really important to note is that as long as you meet that 1 year of experience in one of the designated occupations, if you are now working in a different occupation, that's okay. Okay, so it doesn't matter. You can be working in another occupation upon submission, as long as you have at least 1 year of work in an eligible occupation. Okay. The next group we're going to look at is workers in Canada, Stream B. Okay, so very similar in that you must have accumulated at least 1 year of full-time skilled work experience, i.e. 1,560 hours, okay, over a 12-month period, or part-time equivalent, in an eligible occupation in Annex B in the 3 years preceding the date the PR application is received. And I'm going to go through what Annex B is, because these are what immigration have deemed essential non-healthcare occupations. Okay, now what's important is that here the experience can be acquired in one or more Annex B occupations, but it can also be a combination of Annex B and Annex A. Okay, as per other categories, it does not include self-employment. So again, you must have attained a benchmark of 4 in each language ability. Okay, so listening, reading, speaking, and writing. And again, you must prove this with your language test, whether it's the English or French. So English is CELPIP or IELTS, and the French is the TEF or the TCF. Okay, now this category is capped at 30,000 applications. Okay, so expect this to fill up because there's occupations in this list that have never previously had an opportunity to be able to file a permanent residency application. Okay, so again, this is because these are essential occupations that are not in healthcare, but have certainly been incredibly important for Canada during this time of pandemic. So you'll see cashiers, service station attendants, sales-related occupations, and then numerous trades. So tool and die makers, sheet metal workers, plumbers, gas fitters, carpenters, bricklayers. Okay, the trades, you know, do normally have their own stream, but it's quite difficult to be able to qualify. So again, truck drivers. Okay, so truck drivers have a direct stream to permanent residency. There are occupations, delivery and courier service drivers. I'm going to mention that because, of course, numerous people have been doing this. You know, everybody's ordering takeout. Very important, you're not self-employed. Okay, so you have to make sure that the work that you've been doing, if you are working directly, for example, FedEx or UPS, that's fine. You're employed by the company. If you're self-employed and, you know, delivering for a company, Uber Eats, that type of thing, you are not considered directly employed. So just make sure that you do have a direct employer-employee relationship. We go on, retail salespersons, cleaners, janitors, farm workers, nursery and greenhouse workers. And then we go on to what we call specific 4-digit unit groups. So this is not the entire, let's say, occupation classification that can apply, but there are specific occupations within these unit groups that can apply. So you'll see French and French immersion secondary school teachers, okay? Home childcare providers, very important, okay, that they are being included. Airline ticket and service agents, security guards, agricultural service workers, laborers in food and beverage processing, okay? These are traditionally occupations that have never been able to apply directly for permanent residency before, so this is a huge opportunity. The next one we're going to go into is international graduates. So international graduates, again, remember, you must be employed in Canada with a valid work permit or authorization to work at time of submission. Okay, so it's not enough that you have completed the necessary education in Canada. You also need to be currently employed. So the applicant must have completed a program of study at one of the designated learning institutions. Okay, now I didn't list all of them because there's a number of categories, but you can access that quite easily on immigration's website, okay? But do make sure that it is a designated learning institution and that it meets the requirements. And you have to have completed your program of study prior to submitting your PR, okay? And you cannot have completed it earlier than January 2017, okay? 40,000 applications will be accepted under this category. So there is, of course, a language requirement. This is a little higher than the workers. You know, it's assumed that you've studied in Canada, so you will have a higher language ability. So you have to obtain a level 5 in each language ability. And so with CELPIP, of course, it's a 5 in each ability. IELTS, it's listening is 5, reading 4.0, speaking 5.0, and writing 5.0. Okay, and then I've listed the French results there too. So you need to make sure you meet a minimum of those. Okay, now remember, this is not a points category. So if you score way higher, you're not going to get extra points, okay? As long as you meet the basic minimum, okay? Once you meet that requirement, that is what is needed. So what are the credentials that you have to have been granted? Now, this you would have to pay particular attention to, okay, because they're immigration very specific about the type of credential granted. You have to have received a degree of at least 8 months in duration. This can be an associate degree, a bachelor's degree, master's, or a doctorate, okay? Must be minimum 8 months in duration, okay? Or you could have completed a degree, diploma, certificate, okay, or an attestation of any duration leading to a skilled trade as per Annex A. And so this is, again, I haven't listed all of these, but basically if you are in any of the following categories, industrial, electrical, and construction trades, maintenance and equipment operation trades, supervisors, and then chefs, cooks, butchers, and bakers. If you have done a qualification that has been completed and has led to a skilled trade, then this qualification will be eligible, okay? Or thirdly, one or more diplomas or certificates where the following conditions are met. So basically you have to show at least a 2-year credential, okay? So, and it's okay if you have 2 diplomas or certificates, okay, as long as they're at least 8 months in durations and the combined length of the credential must be equivalent to a 2-year credential. So at least 16 months in duration. Okay, so basically, if you have a 2-year credential or 2 times 1-year credentials, then that will render you eligible. Okay, for Quebec, you have the DVS, the Diploma of Vocational Studies, or the AVS, the Attestation of Vocational Studies. Each program of study must be at least 900 hours in duration, and the combined program of study must be 1,800 hours. Okay, so similar, again, a 2-year program. Now, what is really lovely for all of you Francophones or French speakers is that you can apply under any of these programs and you are not subject to caps. You must meet the language benchmark as specified in each category, but in French, okay? So if you speak both English and French, amazing. If you speak French, you really are given a huge advantage here because you won't have the crazy pressure to submit the application as quickly as possible, okay? You still obviously want to get it in, you know, prior to November, but you won't have the pressure that everybody else will have because you do speak French and you are not subject to the caps. So I don't know if you remember right at the beginning, I told you that you must have the intention to reside outside of Quebec. Okay. And what this means is exactly what it says. You must have the intention to reside outside of Quebec. If you currently reside in Quebec, you are eligible to apply. Okay. So what this does is this actually opens, all these programs are open to anybody who is currently living and working in Quebec or who is educated in Quebec, but they must have the intention to then leave Quebec. Okay. You know, it means that unfortunately Quebec here as a province, we're going to lose a lot of good people that actually we need, but that is because Quebec right now does not have a lot of good immigration options for people who are currently living and working in Quebec. So unfortunately, you know, a lot of people I think are going to leave this province and move. And that is because when this application is filed, you have to demonstrate that you have the intention to reside outside of Quebec. So perhaps you've been looking at jobs, you know, in Ontario or Nova Scotia, or you've got family and friends. You have to show a settlement plan demonstrating your intent. Okay, so it's not enough for you to say, when I get my PR, I'm going to move to Toronto. That's not enough. Okay, you need to actually have a plan written out and specify where you wish to go, why, what are the employment opportunities, have you looked at real estate, do you have family and friends, what is the labor market, that type of thing. Okay, so make sure you do specify exactly what your settlement plans would be. Okay, and now the question is, great, I meet the requirements, how do I apply? Well, we don't know exactly yet, okay? And that is because even though this program is opening next week on the 6th of May, there is still, a guide has not yet been published, okay? So immigration will publish the guide prior to the category opening, but at the moment there is not a guide published, okay? So immigration have indeed released some information, so we have an idea of how it's going to work, but there is no concrete guide, and there is no, you know, you won't find this information yet about how to apply on the website, okay? Right now it's just, we have the obviously the publication of the temporary public policy, and we can see the requirements, but for the actual how to yet, we don't quite know. Okay, we do know that there will be, each applicant will have to apply via a new account. Okay, so you will not be using your current GC key or your MyCIC account. Okay, you will have to start this from fresh. It is likely that they will be creating their, you know, a new separate page, a new separate portal rather, within the immigration's website, and then you will need to create a new account for yourself. Okay, as mentioned, it is going to be mandatory that you pay both the application fee and the right of permanent residency fee. This is mandatory. It has been mentioned that the IMM 0008, the generic application form, will need to be completed and validated. Okay, so this suggests that other forms will need to be provided. Rather than entering information online, for example, as applicants currently do the express entry application. Okay, so the fact that immigration have said the IMM 0008 is going to be needed suggests that other forms that are usually form parts of the old style applications would be included, i.e. the IMM 5669, the Schedule A background declaration, the IMM 5406, the additional family information, and the IMM 5562, which is the travel history. Okay, so anticipate that you will need to have all of those forms prepared. So these are things you can prepare in advance. Okay, and again, if you have a spouse, your spouse will need to complete these forms too. Make sure you have all of your documents ready. Okay, so these must be clear scanned copies. So for example, and these are things you can get done in advance. So make sure you have your identification documents ready, your photo, your passport, your work permits, study permits, proof of required work experience, and of current employment. Okay, so make sure you have the proof of employment, detailed reference letter, pay slips, your contract, your T4, your notice of assessment. Okay, remember, these are going to be critical documents for your application. proof of completed studies as required. Okay, if you're applying as an international graduate, you have to show that the studies you've done met their requirements. Language test. Now, one thing that is interesting for language tests is that immigration have said that they will accept the official online results. Okay, so this is a bit of a change in that there are, because some of the language testing centers, it may take them a bit of time to get you the official language results, but if they provide them to you online, these will be accepted. Okay. It has not been clear yet as to whether or not you will need to do the medical upfront. So that we're waiting to hear on. You know, if you can do it and know that you potentially may have to do another one, I would say go ahead and get it done. Obviously, it must be with a designated medical practitioner. Okay, the list is on RCIC's website. The same police checks, you know, you may not have the proper police checks yet because they can take a while to come, but certainly go ahead and apply for them. Okay, apply for them now. Apply for them now and keep proof of the fact that you have applied for them. So, you know, the application form, payment, show that you have applied for them. Okay, so make sure you get that all done now in advance. Okay. You know, is it possible that you will be able to submit perhaps without? Yes, but show that you have at least attempted to get them. Okay. There are things that we don't know. One of them is this is opening on May 6th. Do we know what time? No. Okay, so, you know, immigration does work on UTC. Is it going to open at midnight on May 6th, UTC? That is equivalent actually to 8 o'clock p.m. in Toronto on May 5th and 5 p.m. Vancouver time, May 5th. Be prepared. It may very well be, although in immigration's timelines, it's May 6th, but in our times here in Canada, it may actually be the evening of May 5th. Okay, so we have to wait and see. We don't know that information yet. Immigration have not been able to confirm processing times. Okay, so we don't know. Is this going to be faster than express entry, shorter? We don't know. Okay, or longer. So that we have to wait and see. That has not been confirmed. And finally, bridging open work permit option. This has not yet been addressed by immigration, so we do not know if by filing this application, it will give applicants the opportunity to apply, okay, for a bridging open work permit. So that's another thing. We just need to wait and see. A reminder, again, it's very important that you know the application must be complete at time of submission. This is not a two-step application. Okay, so you must have everything ready to go and upload when you are submitting the application, when the pathway is open. Okay, applicants can submit in more than one category. So this is important for you to know because as you can see, there are caps, right? So if you know you're eligible in more than one category, you actually can apply in a second or even a third category, but you must pay the fees. Okay, so you'll be paying the fees 1, 2, maybe 3 times. But if that's what it's going to take for you to make sure you get in, then, you know, go ahead. Very important to remember, you must be employed in Canada at the time of the application. You must reside in Canada with valid temporary status and be physically present in Canada at the time the application is both received and approved. Okay, so this is very important information for you to make sure that you are going to be able to meet those requirements for the application. Okay, one tiny couple of tips about your documents. Okay, about preparing your documents. This should be obvious, but if you do not already have a scanner, go ahead, buy a scanner. They're very inexpensive. This will make sure that all of your documents are going to be clear and legible. Okay, get familiar with merging and reducing your documents. Currently, you know, there's a maximum of 4 megabytes per document. You know, so we have to anticipate that it will remain the same. If you don't already have Adobe Pro, either buy it or use a free 30-day trial to make sure that your documents will be clear okay? And you'll be able to merge them easily. And make sure you name them properly and keep them in a separate folder. So this is just a tip for you in your preparation. It's going to make it easier for you to upload, and you're going to know absolutely then that you have properly uploaded each of your documents so that your application is complete. Okay, so that's pretty much all that we know for now. Obviously, you can still go to Immigration Canada's website where they will have some information about the policies, but we are still waiting for the actual guide to be published. So hopefully that's going to come really soon, and then that's going to really allow you to prepare your application as much as possible in anticipation of this program opening on May 6th, 2021. Okay, so for now, I'm just going to wish you good luck. I hope everything goes well. I hope you're able to get your application submitted. If you need any assistance, of course, don't hesitate. You can email us, okay, info@canadianvisaspecialist.com. Any questions, if you want to have a consultation, if you want me to review your documents, I can absolutely do that. Certainly go ahead and follow us on Facebook, LinkedIn, Twitter, Instagram, and of course here on YouTube. Don't forget to like and subscribe, okay? And don't hesitate to share the video with anybody here in Canada who you think this would be useful for, okay? So thanks very much, everybody. I hope to see you here in Canada someday soon. Have a great day.